Hey guys, it's Two Bricks here, and I am so excited to be kicking off this brand new build series. This is the LEGO Star Wars Microscale Fleet. And the first ship I'm going to share with you guys today is the Millennium Falcon, of course. What's really cool about this series is that every single one of the ships in the fleet is built to scale with the Falcon, and so you're going to get a really cool sense of how different Star Wars ships scale next to one another, because I've tried to be really accurate as far as is humanly possible with LEGO bricks anyway, and really faithfully recreating approximately 70 ships so far. The fleet does keep growing at this same scale, and so I have no idea how I'm going to get them all on screen eventually, but we're going to start off today with the Falcon, and let's dive in and take a look at some of the details. So the reason that I started building these ships in the first place was I really just wanted to have a desk model of the Millennium Falcon, and I didn't have a whole lot of space, so I wanted to have a fairly small representation. And I didn't really feel like LEGO had created a small-scale Falcon that really captured the look of the ship the way I would like. So I just created one, and then I just kind of kept going. So the result is this gigantic collection that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. Some of the interesting things about the ship, I mean, it's fairly standard in its construction in terms of just being plates on top of plates stacked up for the most part. But there are a couple of little interesting areas, like for example back here I've used rubber bands to indicate the hyperdrive ring and this paneling detail back here that you see on the Falcon. That was something that I felt like really just kind of added a little extra something to the look of it, where previous models that I'd done, previous renditions, didn't really have anything particularly interesting back here representing what I think is, one of the kind of cooler areas of the ship. You look at it from the back and you just expect to see that iconic blue ring right there. So that worked out pretty well. And the way that I was able to achieve having both of these running through here is that just in the middle section between these two gray plates, I just have nothing but rounded clear studs. And those round studs have a slightly kind of indented profile at the bottom, and that just gives you a gap, and you can kind of see light poking through there already. The gap just allows the rubber bands to sit in between the studs, and there's no kind of tension. These aren't going to fray or break over time, so that's really cool. I captured the look, I guess, of the vents back here on the back side of the Falcon, but I wasn't able to get the correct amount, which I'm sure some people are going to roast me for in the comments. You need to have 6 if you're really going to have an accurate amount, but I felt like I wanted to just kind of get the visual idea across of there being dark circles back here and as represented by these hollow studs, and there really wasn't a good way to fit 6 into the space where those actually do fit. I could have kind of had them coming back here more, but I really didn't want to take up too much of this backside because they are actually a fairly small feature, and I think they're usually overly represented on models that I see. So I didn't want to do that, so I think this is an okay compromise. Maybe one day LEGO will make a piece that allows me to have 3 and 3, but we'll see. I love the fact that LEGO is creating these ingot pieces in more and more colors these days. Once these came out in gray, I knew that was exactly what was going to go right there. It just has that perfect kind of side profile that indicates the shape of this area of the ship, and even with a little extra kind of paneling detail on top, like you can imagine Lando popping out of the hatch right there to rescue Luke in Empire. So that's awesome. I hope LEGO continues to make those in all the different colors that they have. Taking a look at the landing gear on the bottom, you can see that this is the Empire Strikes Back version of the Falcon, and the way that you can tell that is because these 2 landing gears are present. In the films, they initially started out with just this one and these back here, and then when Empire Strikes Back came around, they built a full-scale model of the Falcon, and they realized that they needed some extra support, so 2 landing gears were added. So that's a fun little kind of Star Wars hyper nerd detail for you to know. And actually, in the Han Solo movie, they have these in the earlier version of the Falcon, but then they show them getting knocked off in the Kessel Run, which is fun. So it kind of lines up with A New Hope. Also, of course, the round edition here, and that's just held on by a clip that I don't feel like is an illegal technique. I don't feel that this clip is really being stressed. It's actually been holding on to that for a couple of years already, and no cracks have formed in that piece, so that's good. And also the the kind of overall proportions are something that was a little tricky to capture, but the way that I was able to do that, I really felt like I needed a single stud gap in between the two front mandibles, and then I really wanted to use these 4x4 rounded plates in the back, so I had to have an uneven number of studs in the front section and an even number in the back. And that was actually pretty easy to achieve. I can actually just pop these off to show you. All I really needed to do was to have a jumper stud, or a jumper plate, sorry, in the middle, and then attach a single 1x3 tile right here in the center, and then kind of just sandwich it in with this plate on top. That kind of keeps it nice and tight, and that gives a really sturdy connection where I could then attach this plate, the 2x3, that holds onto the mandibles just perfectly. And it only holds on with these two studs, but I've never had any issues with stability with this model. It holds together really well. So that's that. Another little detail is I'm using minifigure hands to represent cannons, and I'm doing that throughout this series because I feel like there really isn't something at this scale to represent small details like this, like small little laser guns and things of that sort. And I know that LEGO doesn't typically approve of the use of minifigure hands for extra detail, but it just works so well that I feel like I gotta do it. And plus, it allows the stand to plug into the hole in the hand right there on the bottom, and it just gives it a really secure connection, which is kind of awesome. So yeah, works out all around. Oh, and the last thing I guess to point out is that the cockpit is kind of an unusual assembly. What I've done is I've attached a 1x2 plate onto this jumper, and then used this rounded plate right here to create a really smooth flush connection that creates the corridor detail that goes out to the cockpit. And the cockpit itself is just done using one of these clip and bar pieces, and then a couple of studs with a hole in the center attached to give you the cockpit detail. And in my scale, a single stud like this is room enough for 4 people to sit, so it works out perfectly. And it is a, I guess you'd call it a dubious connection slightly, because it's not holding onto the full width of the plate, it's grasping onto kind of the edge right there. But the way that it's situated, and when I push it into the corner and just kind of line it up and don't mess with it, it actually works out pretty perfectly. And I really don't think LEGO has a part that exists that would allow me to get this exact specific angle and still have the plate detail on the front. So I think that's a pretty decent compromise. And again, LEGO continues to come out with new parts all the time, and I'm always updating my models as that happens. So yeah, if they ever come out with something that can do this without the dodginess right here, then I will go ahead and use that. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to see on this model. I kind of was inspired by the X-Wing miniatures games with the whole, you know, stand, and all my ships pretty much sit on a little stand, and it kind of just gives it a nice professional, slick look, I think, rather than just having it sit directly on the table, even though it does have landing gear and it could do that. All right, well, thank you guys so much for sticking around to check that model out. And honestly, I've been wanting to do this series for such a long time. I've been creating for probably 3 or 4 years at this point, just adding ships as kind of as I go through the movies, and I rewatch them fairly frequently, and then I think, oh, well, maybe I could do that one. I wonder how big that is, and then I get to work and I create another ship. So this series is going to go on for a while, and there's going to end up being a crazy amount of stuff represented on the screen. So if you guys are big Star Wars fans like I am, I think you're going to love it. So I'm going to get to work on the next video in the series, and I cannot wait to show you guys the next one. We're going all the way back to the beginning. If you enjoyed the video, please do leave a thumbs up, comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. And particularly if you didn't like it, I would love to hear why and what you think I could do better. This is a new channel after all, and I'm really trying to get you guys' feedback and do the best job that I can, because, you know, I've never done anything like this. So yeah, I will see you guys on the next video. Thanks again, and may the Force be with you.